Before we begin, please be aware that we are recording this webinar. If you have any questions about the resources, we encourage you to follow up via email at support@electionsgroup.com. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Annie, and I'm an election expert with the Elections Group.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rebecca. I'm a communications and program manager for the Elections Group.
I'm Alton Dillard. I'm a communications consultant for the Elections Group.
Thank you. For those of you who may be joining us for the first time, the Elections Group is an election administration consulting firm. We partner with state and local election officials to implement new programs or improve processes for voters and stakeholders. We provide guidance, resources, and direct management support for jurisdictions. Our team is made up of former election officials and election experts from across the United States. We're pleased to have you all with us today for our fifth highlight of resources for the election administration community. Each week, we will showcase resources from the Elections Group paired with resources from other organizations in the election space. Every 4 weeks, we'll focus on a different topic and we'll take a deeper dive into the resources available each week.
This month, we are focusing on election communications, and this week we are highlighting our very own Using Video to Tell a Story and the Center for Tech and Civics Life's Communicating Trusted Election Information. I am going to go ahead and kick things off and discuss our resource, Using Video to Tell a Story. So videos are ideal tools to illustrate your elections process. Short videos that range from 30 to 45 seconds are sufficient to demonstrate a process, highlight voting options, or report your progress in counting ballots. Videos should be engaging and visual, but not need to be expensive. They don't have to be time consuming or creatively produced. If you have access to a government television channel, that's great. If you don't, you can also create videos with a cell phone or even a tablet, a lapel microphone, a steady hand or a tripod, and editing software on your phone or tablet. You can use things like iMovie, Adobe Spark, or even more robust Adobe Rush, Premiere Pro, depending on what you have access to. You do need an Adobe Creative Cloud license to access some of those web-based platform programs, but you can also use something like Canva if you want to add graphics, and they also have a video editing software feature in Canva now too. You can combine still photos with your video, and that will allow you to create easy transitions while editing. You can put sample images of a ballot or a mail ballot envelope in there as well. And then you can also post your videos to your agency YouTube channels and even your website. Then you can share them on social media, link them as HTMLs and emails. One thing to note is that videos under 60 seconds can be posted to your Instagram feed, but Instagram stories are limited to 15 seconds. I believe you do have a little bit more time on Instagram stories now. I think they've changed that to up to 60 seconds as well. Just make it a priority to send your footage to local news media as well to prevent them from using misleading file footage. If you don't have any of the resources that we listed earlier, don't worry. Like we said, you can still create these informative short videos with your phone. Good videos tell a story without requiring a lot of narration or any text, but they do need to be visual and show motion whenever possible. Another great tool for video is Facebook Live or Instagram Live. And then there are a few things to just watch out for when we're talking about Facebook and Instagram is that these platforms are live. So if you're not comfortable being live or not familiar with it, then it's okay to look for an alternative option. Anytime you use Facebook Live, anyone who may come across your page will have access to that video. So just be cognizant of that. And then just be cognizant of the information that you're broadcasting as well. Since you are live, you don't want to inadvertently show any sensitive information to your live audience. One thing that is really great about Instagram and Facebook Live is that they are interactive. So your viewers can interact in real time. They can ask questions, they can react to what you're saying. So that way you can kind of get on what the public sentiment is at any given moment. This is really great for instant updates. I know in previous jurisdictions, we've used Facebook Live to update on counting, mail ballot processing, and things like that. And then you can also alert your social media followers when you plan on going live. Instead of just randomly going live at different times throughout the day, you can say, we'll be back in another hour. We'll be live in 30 minutes. So just let them know so that viewers know when to tune in. Great. So using video to tell a story, again, powerful tool. It doesn't have to be super complicated, and you can use the resources that you already have at your fingertips, like an iPhone, an iPad, anything like that. So this resource, we are going to provide the link in the chat for folks who are joining us today, but we recommend you download it today so that you can get started.
Hi, folks. This is Josh Goldman from the Center for Tech and Civic Life. So glad to be here today. I'm going to share a resource with you from our training materials. CTCL produces a variety of training and resources for local election offices to help you run safe, inclusive, secure elections. And so what we're going to focus on today is our Communicating Trusted Election Information training series. So I'm going to share my screen and show you what it's all about. All right, so we are at the Center for Tech and Civic Life website, techandciviclife.org. We're going to navigate to our work, courses, and you can see that you can select from our offerings, but the one that you'll want to bookmark for today is the Communicating Trusted Election Information series. This is a 6-part series that covers a number of different ways that you can communicate with your voters to build trust. And we know that election offices are the ground source of truth of election information in a really chaotic information environment with so much misinformation going around. So these are ways that you can build that relationship with your voters, build that trust with your voters, and ultimately run a smooth election. So I'll walk you through the courses that are available. Course 1 is improving your election website. We know that websites are central to how users find information on the internet. And so this course covers identifying the top civic information people are looking for online, applying principles of plain language and design to your website, and prioritizing digital methods for building trust with your voters. As you can see, the full video is available here on the website. It's just a little bit over an hour long, and it's broken up into chapters here at the bottom, so you can find the spot or the content that works best for you. Each video includes a participant guide, and you can download the slides for the course. I'll just briefly click into the participant guide and show you what that's all about. Basically, this is all of the information from the training, just in text form. So everything's there, all of the content, all of the images, all of the resources and references. You can use this to follow along while you're watching the video. It's also great as a reference for when you're working on communications projects day to day, yourself or with your team. So that's available for every course in this series. The first one, of course, being improving your election website. The next one is accessible communication for election offices. So this is about learning the principles of accessible communication and how they increase public trust, understanding how people with disabilities experience information online, and establishing actionable guidelines for making your website more accessible. This is a way to make sure that your voters, all your voters, can access the information they need to participate fully in the process. Course number 3 is social media for voter engagement. Social media is so central to how we experience the internet, of course. So many of your voters are social media users. And this course will help you review what research tells you about or tells us about how to look, how voters look for election information, know how to use social media to build trust with voters year-round, and help you implement basic design principles to create engaging graphics. Course 4 is about misinformation, combating election misinformation. So in this course, you'll get familiar with terms and concepts related to information operations. Identify different forms of misinformation, malinformation, and disinformation, and how to respond, and develop resilience with a defensive communication strategy. So much of our work now is about combating election misinformation, that this pulls lots of resources together for you, includes some basic definitions for you and your team, and can really help you get started or give you a boost in the work that you're doing to combat election misinformation in your jurisdiction. There's also another resource here, connected, a misinformation checklist. On some of the courses, there's bonus resources as well. Fifth out of the six courses, this is educating and persuading public officials. Sometimes building partnerships with leaders in your community is an important way to get information distributed to the folks in your community. So we're talking about how to confidently inform policymakers about how you administer elections, how to establish and maintain trusted relationships with public officials so that you're all sort of working from the same playbook when it comes to how you talk about elections. And this covers how to get involved in initiatives advancing practical and voter-centric policies. The sixth and final course is working with the media. So it might be the case that your goal is to stay out of the media at all costs, because usually when election administration is featured in the news, it's because of a challenge or a mistake or some kind of mix-up. But it's also true that with the right media strategy, you can put positive stories about your office and information about how to vote in places that are heavily utilized by your voters. And you can really make the media a partner as opposed to just something to be avoided. So this course covers making the most of media coverage to educate voters, countering misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation in the press, and developing productive relationships with credible journalists. All of these courses include interviews and information from key experts in the field, from election offices across the country, and whether it's working journalists from the media or misinformation experts. Each of these comes with the best information from across the country so that you can learn from your peers about how they're dealing with misinformation, with election communication, with all of these topics, and ultimately find some practices, just decide what's best for your office and put them into use so that you can serve the voters the way you want to serve them. This is part of a number of resources available from CTCL related to communications and training. They will also, it will also help you utilize some of the other resources discussed in this webinar series. So we hope this will be part of your toolbox as you move forward in this election and in future elections. Again, you can access these resources at techandciviclife.org. And then navigate to the courses section, and then navigate to communicating trusted election information, our 6-course series. Thanks so much for all you do for voters in your jurisdiction, and hope you're able to check out these resources soon.
And we wanted to showcase some examples in the wild, as always, of election offices across the country who are doing some really amazing work. Today we have Alton Dillard with us, who used to work for the Denver Elections Division. They have an excellent social media presence, and we're happy to have him here today to talk about it. Welcome, Alton.
Thank you, Annie. Yeah, so as far as the in the wild part, my former jurisdiction, as you mentioned, has always been pretty active in the social media space. One of the things, especially in today's environment, is people don't have a lot of time to do a lot of reading. And that's why it's so important that you use your social, and especially if you have an Instagram presence, to be able to help tell a story. And it comes in handy for so many things. So going left to right here, that first image is of a couple of voters with their I voted stickers. And I'm sure especially people who've been around the business for a while know how important I voted stickers are to our voters. And so you can do something as simple as just, let a couple of your voters know, hey, I'd like to grab a picture of you, and just get their, verbal permission. Polling places are public places, but as we always talk about, it's a 50-state patchwork. So just double check to make sure that's okay under your local laws. It's also a good way to give shout outs to our frontliners, our election judges. That middle image is our clerk and recorder and our former elections director out making a round of visits to vote centers to thank the people who were the ones who were voter facing every single election. And then the other thing you can do is you can also use Instagram to show that you're a part of the community. That bird that you see there is actually the mascot from the Community College of Denver. And it shows that that you're a part of your community, but it also shows that you have the ability and the interest in reaching out across multiple demographics. And in Denver, we've got a commuter college that actually has multiple schools on one campus. And so we make sure to have a boat center located there. And we also make sure to integrate them as part of the community, since they're literally just a few blocks from downtown. So in conclusion, Instagram, great way to tell the story, especially if you don't have a lot of time to put out a lot of narrative. You want to get visuals in front of your voters. You don't want to drown them in a whole bunch of text, but it's a quick way to tell your story as a trusted elections information resource.
Thank you so much, Alton, for sharing. And thank you to Rebecca for a great discussion. The resources mentioned in today's discussion have been placed into the chat. We would love to see if you've used any of these resources provided in our chat so far. If you've used or customized one of these resources, definitely let us know. Send us an email with a screenshot or description. And as always, our inbox is always open if you have any additional questions. Please email us at support@electionsgroup.com. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.